On a freezing winter evening in Chicago, a single choice changed two lives forever. No one noticed it at first. It wasn't loud or dramatic. There were no cameras, no applause, no headlines. Just one small act of kindness between two strangers on a crowded sidewalk. But by the end of that night, something happened that nobody, not even the man who offered help, could have ever imagined. Sometimes, the smallest moment becomes the biggest turning point. And sometimes, the ending you never expect is the one that restores your faith in humanity. Before we begin, if you believe kindness still matters in this world, make sure to subscribe to Kindness Story Hub, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring more real and inspiring stories that remind us all that good people still exist. Now, let me tell you what happened that night. Mark Thompson was 38 years old, a construction supervisor living on the south side of Chicago. Life hadn't been easy lately. After a messy divorce and mounting bills, he was working overtime just to stay afloat. That evening, he was exhausted. His boots were soaked from melted snow, and all he wanted was to get home, microwave some leftover pasta, and fall asleep on the couch. As he walked toward the train station, he noticed a young woman sitting on the sidewalk near the entrance. She couldn't have been older than 22. She was wrapped in a thin hoodie, shivering, her hands red from the cold. A small cardboard sign sat beside her. It simply read, "Need help?" Anything helps. Most people walked by without looking. A few dropped coins without stopping. Mark slowed down. He didn't know why. Maybe it was the way she avoided eye contact. Maybe it was the way her shoulders trembled. Or maybe it was because, deep down, he knew what it felt like to be one bad month away from losing everything. He checked his wallet. He had $43 in cash. That was supposed to cover gas for the week. He hesitated. He wasn't rich. He wasn't even comfortable. But something inside him told him to stop. "Hey," he said gently. "Have you eaten today?" The young woman looked up, surprised that someone had spoken to her directly. "Not since yesterday morning," she admitted quietly. Mark swallowed. He thought about his empty apartment, his own struggles, his unpaid credit card bill. Then he made a decision that even surprised him. "Come on," he said. "There's a diner across the street." She hesitated at first, but his tone was calm, respectful. No pity. Just simple human concern. Inside the small diner, the warmth hit them both like a blanket. Mark ordered 2 cheeseburgers, fries, and hot coffee. The smell of fresh food filled the air. When the plates arrived, the young woman's hands shook as she picked up her burger. She tried to eat slowly, but hunger took over. "My name's Emily," she said between bites. "I'm Mark," he replied. As they talked, her story unfolded. She had come to Chicago chasing a job opportunity that fell through. She didn't have family nearby. Rent ran out. Savings disappeared. She had been sleeping in shelters when there was space, and outside when there wasn't. Mark listened without judgment. He didn't interrupt. He didn't lecture. He just listened. When they finished eating, he did something even more unexpected. He took out his phone and called his old friend David, who managed a small storage facility. "Hey," Mark said, stepping outside for a moment. "You still looking for someone part-time in the office?" There was a pause. Then David replied, "Actually, yeah. Our receptionist quit last week." Mark looked through the diner window at Emily, who was carefully folding her napkin like she didn't want to waste anything. "I might know someone," he said. The next morning, Mark drove Emily to the storage facility. She was nervous, but she showed up early, cleaned up as best as she could, and tried her hardest during the interview. David gave her a chance. It wasn't glamorous. The pay wasn't amazing, but it was steady. Within 2 weeks, Emily was renting a small room in a shared apartment. Within a month, she was working full-time. Mark checked in occasionally, but he didn't hover. He didn't expect anything in return. To him, it was just the right thing to do. Months passed. Mark's own life continued to feel heavy. Work slowed down in the spring. His company started cutting hours. One Friday afternoon, his boss called him into the office. "We're downsizing," his boss said, avoiding eye contact. "I'm sorry." Just like that, Mark was unemployed. He drove home in silence, gripping the steering wheel. Bills. Rent. Car payment. The old fear crept back into his chest. For weeks, he searched for work. Applications. Interviews. Rejections. His savings shrank quickly. He sold tools he no longer needed. He skipped meals to stretch groceries. One afternoon, as he sat in his dim apartment staring at his nearly empty fridge, his phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello? Mark? It's Emily." He felt a small spark of relief hearing her voice. "Hey, kid. How are you?" "I'm good," she said, sounding excited. "Actually, I've been meaning to call you." She told him something he didn't know. After working at the storage facility, she had taken online classes at night. One of the tenants who rented a unit there owned a small tech startup. They had talked often when he came by. He noticed her work ethic, her kindness to customers, her determination. He offered her an entry-level position at his company, and it's been going really well, she said. Really well. Mark smiled despite everything. "That's amazing, Emily. I'm proud of you." There was a pause. "Mark," she continued softly, "David told me about your job." He hesitated. "Yeah. Just temporary. I'll figure something out." "Actually," she said, her voice steady, "the company I work for is expanding. We need someone to manage facilities and oversee office renovations. I told my boss about you. About how you helped me when nobody else would. He wants to meet you." Mark was speechless. "I don't have a degree," he said finally. "He doesn't care," Emily replied. "He cares about character. And I told him you're the kind of person who shows up." A week later, Mark walked into a bright, modern office building downtown. He felt out of place in his only suit. But when he met the CEO, the conversation felt surprisingly natural. They didn't just talk about experience. They talked about leadership, responsibility, second chances. 2 days later, Mark received the call that he got the job. The salary was better than anything he'd earned before. Full benefits, stability, a fresh start. On his first day, as he stood in his new office overlooking the city skyline, he thought back to that freezing winter night. To the young woman shivering on the sidewalk. To the $43 in his wallet. To the simple question, "Have you eaten today?" He had expected nothing in return, and yet, kindness had found its way back to him in a way he never could have predicted. Months later, Mark and Emily met again at that same little diner. This time, they both ordered without looking at the prices. They laughed about how nervous they'd been that first night. Emily said, stirring her coffee, "If you had walked past me like everyone else, my life would look very different." Mark shook his head. "You did the hard work. I just bought you dinner." She smiled. "No. You saw me." And that was the truth. Kindness isn't always about grand gestures. It's about seeing someone, Hearing them. Treating them like they matter. In a world that often feels rushed and divided, it's easy to look away. It's easy to say, someone else will help. But sometimes, you're the someone. Mark never imagined that spending his gas money on a stranger would lead to a better job months later. He didn't help Emily because he expected a reward. He helped because, in that moment, compassion felt more important than convenience, and that's the beautiful part of kindness. It doesn't come with a contract. It doesn't guarantee a return. But it creates ripples. Invisible at first, powerful over time. Maybe your act of kindness won't lead to a new job. Maybe it won't change your life overnight. But it will change something. It will change a moment, a mood, a direction, a heart, and sometimes, as this story shows, it just might come back to you when you need it most. So the next time you see someone struggling, pause. Ask a question. Offer a hand. Buy the meal. Make the call, because nobody expected this ending after one kind act, and the next unexpected ending might begin with you. If this story touched your heart, remember to like, subscribe to Kindness Story Hub, and share in the comments how a small act of kindness changed your life. Let's keep spreading light, one simple act at a time.